Hello everyone and welcome to GoT Thrones, a Game of Thrones podcast. I'm Alexandra August.
Welcome back, Alex. I'm Johnny Kolasinski.
It's so good to be back. I had a nice vacation in Austin. If you guys ever go there, get brisket.
You're telling people to go to Austin and get meat? That's,
Specific meat.
These are the deep secrets of Austin.
Specific meat. Yeah, this was a good week.
It was. Everything moved forward. I expected... Casterly Rock was not what I expected. By the way, we're talking about Season 7, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones.
The Queen's Justice.
The Queen's Justice.
This is not a Grey's Anatomy podcast. If this is what you think you're listening to, then you're in the wrong classroom.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, this is not a Star Trek podcast.
Nope.
Yet.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, that was interesting. That was
well done. And we will get to there, but we just so we're going to be doing 2 episodes this week. This one we're going to just move through our immediate thoughts, and later Thursday morning, Wednesday evening, we will dive deep into the episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, God, I'm sorry. Immediate responses are so interesting with the show because I write my notes, but then I also have like so many bigger thoughts, like kind of umbrella thoughts. What are yours, Johnny? What's your umbrella thought about this episode?
It moved a lot in a way that to me was new or different from the way Game of Thrones has done that in the past. In that normally the everything fits into place episodes lately have been the battle episodes. It's been Battle of the Bastards. It's been Blackwater going all the way back to season 2. Here, everything moved into place, and the battles did happen. We just didn't see them, and I thought that was a very interesting change, and I liked the way it was handled.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting in the sense that like this felt like a regular Game of Thrones episode.
Mm-hmm.
Just one that, like, because if you think about it, for the past, like, 4 or 5 episodes, they've been really big. They've moved a lot of story along. This just felt like kind of reminiscent of a show that was season 3, season 4.
Yeah.
And that was, but it was also, it had the sophistication of season 6.
Yes.
A lot of the episodes we saw in season 6. And I've been sitting on this for a while, but, like, I knew that they were going to invade Casterly Rock, like, several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Saw the pictures, kind of got the foreshadowing there and figured, okay, well, they're going to hit Casterly Rock. And what's interesting is, even looking at the spoilers and looking at what happens, it was pretty easy to assume that Daenerys was going to be able to be like, okay, well, I can take this, I can take King's Landing, I can take Dorne, I have Dorne, and I can take Casterly Rock, and the war is won.
Mm-hmm.
We got convinced of that watching the spoilers and watching the pictures come in early on without thinking the fact that like Cersei would have at least one kind of like last grasp. I thought this season would start with more talking, more episodes like these, and not, a sea battle in the 2nd episode and the Tyrell battle in the 3rd episode.
In 2 minutes of the 3rd episode.
Yeah, and
we'll get there.
But it was, I think it was good because obviously I think we need to see Cersei win. We need to see her win for a little while because she, as much as we like to shut on her, she's not that stupid.
Right.
Or at least everyone else around her is just not that smart. I don't know.
She's the smartest of a dumb bunch now that Tyrion's gone.
Well, yeah, and also watching Euron being like, watching everyone say you're just like your father. I'm sorry, not Euron, but like, what's his face? From the Iron Bank.
Tycho.
Mr. Yeah. Mycroft, yeah. Or not Mycroft.
I did know that Mark Gatiss was coming back. Yeah, Mycroft Holmes. Tycho Norris?
Yes. Yes.
That's not, the last name's not quite right, but Yeah, I knew that Gaddis was coming back, and somehow it slipped my mind, but I never thought that he would be coming back on Team Cersei.
Well, she makes a pretty good case.
She made a great point.
Well, but at the same time, her point is faulty. Like, everything that she told him isn't going to last.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a kind of a great setup for at some point Daenerys to be in a shitty situation and the Iron Bank coming in and being like, by the way, we made a bad bet. Ew.
I don't know that I don't see that happening.
I mean, Cersei's out of gold, and I think they've won the Tyrells, but the Iron Bank has no soldiers.
Right.
So
But I think they've got enough to. I think they took enough from the Tyrells to, because she said she'd have the cash in a fortnight. I think they took enough to pay the debt.
yeah, I think so. But I think at the end of the day, they don't introduce him, and they don't predicate his loyalty on money unless Cersei is going to eventually run out of it and not be able to pay her debts. Because she even said a Lannister always pays her debts. And this entire book series, this entire show, we've been waiting for a Lannister to be like, a Lannister always pays her debts. And then all of a sudden reach into their pockets, put in their debit card, and that debit card being declined.
Oh, run it again. Run it again, Taika.
What? Okay, so the meeting between Jon and Dany was a little bit less thrilling than I thought it would be. I actually tweeted, I was like, yeah, the meeting between Jon and Dany was good, but I'm still not shipping it. I'm still shipping Jon and Sansa. Not that that's important, but even Davos was like, this place has changed. He walks up and this place has changed. And it was cool, but it wasn't as thrilling. And I'm kind of glad it wasn't, because I hope the writers and the editors saw that and were like, okay, we can't predicate these last two seasons just on this cool alliance. Like, this isn't that. I expected to be more excited about that than I was. And I'm wondering if anybody else felt the same way.
I felt the same way. I felt like it was just another dick measuring contest.
Yeah.
You kneel first. No, you kneel first. Essentially.
And Jon, like,
my dad was killed. Well, my dad was killed. Well, your dad was crazy. Well, your dad was a traitor.
Yeah, and then also the idea of like him being like, the army of the dead marches upon us. It's like, homie, you know that no one's going to believe that. Can you please find another word? I get that you don't have the word zombie, but you need to be like, okay, the undead people, or these crazy beasts that look like people but aren't. Yeah. That was that to me was a little bit like, all right, writers, you're better than this. Like, come on, give Jon would say something else.
Yeah, I did like his don't say the dead word moment to Davos.
Yeah, they're like, nobody knows. Shh. It was like they were on a first date and he didn't want to tell her he had children. He was like, no, it's first date.
Yeah, yeah, he was stabbed in the heart by his people. He returned from the Jennies for these people.
The Denny's, yeah.
Yeah.
I did love Missandei's like grandiose introduction of Daenerys, and then all of a sudden Davos is like,
"This is Jon Snow,
King of the North."
Jon Snow.
I'm not great at public speaking. Here we go. And Jon's like, "Great, thank you."
And then he finds his notes.
It didn't feel like they related very much. It didn't feel like they really had common ground, which I get makes sense. They don't know each other, and they have incredibly differing backgrounds that will need several or at least some conversations to feel out. But it was just a little bit like two people talking at each other, and for these two characters to have been so far apart this entire show, then to finally meet. I don't know. I felt like it was momentous, but not.
It wasn't as momentous as Tyrion.
That was, yeah, you're right. That to me was just.
Hi, guys. Tyrion meeting Dany, I mean.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes, you're actually.
But
yeah.
also, Tyrion and Jon.
Yeah, I was thinking Jon, but I mean that too. You're absolutely right.
And that's okay to me. Like I think I said in our preview episode that this wasn't a moment I thought was going to live up to expectations.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, you said that you didn't want them to meet, like...
I said I didn't want them to meet early on.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like everything you said kind of happened. It was just a dick measuring contest.
Mm-hmm.
And that said, I also think that that kind of needed to happen. And if we're going to get an episode where everybody's just talking, I think this was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I liked the resolution.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting us to have Dany rule before she actually rules. You know what I mean? Like, just having her be like, all right, well, yeah, mine some Dragonstone and just, like, hang out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like Jon's going to set up camp and just mine Obsidian. I think that's a unique way to go about it.
Yeah. I think it'll keep him there. Maybe not.
Which also worries me. I really did like the Sansa stuff, and I like that Bran came and he was like, hi, super not Bran anymore.
I didn't like super not Bran anymore. Katie, my wife's moment on that was, as Bran showed up, was, oh, it's Bran. Because she was so excited for Arya.
I mean, when we saw the previously on where Bran was there and Arya wasn't.
Yep.
I think it's going to make for an interesting family dynamic when Arya does get home and, like, Bran's kind of a zombie.
Yeah,
and
Bran's a robot.
Yeah, Bran's a robot.
Sansa's dating a creepy older guy.
And Arya's like, what is happening? What?
And Jon's not really your brother anymore. Also, he's banging his aunt.
Well, and I love that Bran was like, oh, I need to speak to Jon. Like, now. Right now. It's very important. I thought
I didn't like monotone Bran, though.
I didn't like it either. I thought if we're gonna have the first person who acknowledges what happened to Sansa at Ramsay's hands, what really happened to Sansa? Because she hasn't told anybody, and Bran is officially the only one who knows. I thought Sophie Turner did a beautiful job walking away from that, but Bran being monotone, being like, "Hey, I know you were raped," was like, I was like, okay, kind of the worst thing you could say.
It's like having Stephen Hawking as your therapist.
A little bit, yeah. It's hard to figure out how much empathy they feel, and I think Bran feels it, but I also think it's really sad for Sansa, who was so happy for her brother to come home, to realize what her brother is as a function of him expressing his knowledge of an incredibly intimate part of her, and basically doing it cerebrally, very icily, without intending to. I think that's just foreshadowing to the fact that even if all the Starks are home at Winterfell, the remaining Starks, it's not going to be copacetic. Like, it's not going to be this happy homecoming. And not that any of us expected that it would be, but it's still going to be pretty fraught. And I think we were all hoping that it would just be like them coming back together and being like, oh, yay. And it's really not. Like, it's real. If this foreshadows anything, it's that it's not going to be that way.
Yeah. I think that if all four remaining Stark children live through the series, this says to me that Sansa's going to be the one that remains at Winterfell, because she's going to be the only one that's still really Sansa Stark.
You're really right, because she's the person we've seen the most complete journey of, and somebody who has changed a little, but also changed a lot. Right.
She's changed a lot, but it hasn't. She has grown.
Yeah. But
the nature of her has not changed, whereas Arya is no one.
Well, Arya...
Even if Arya is Arya Stark again, Arya is still ninja assassin Arya Stark.
Well, Arya was also something different from day one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Arya was out, like, Ned says to her in the first season, you're going to have, you know, you're going to marry a great lord and your sons will be princes and knights. And she says, no, that's not me. And then last week she says to Nymeria, that's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Arya's entire story is that she's not the person she's not the person whom she was when she left.
Right.
Or who she was when she's not the person she was when she left. And Bran, we know, isn't.
Yeah.
And Sansa kind of is. But she...
Sansa is the adult version.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Jon is Jon Targaryen.
I feel like Jon has changed very little.
Yes.
He has experiences. And again, I'm very curious as to why he was like, don't tell anyone. Don't. Shh, shh, shh. It's embarrassing.
I need to talk about all these crazy things that are happening. And if you say that I'm Jesus, it's going to get weird.
It's embarrassing. Well, I thought it was fun, too, that we got the shot of Theon pulling up. And he was like, I tried to save them. If you had tried, you wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. It so sucks. Because Theon actually, like, I looked at that moment last week in Dragonstone or Stormborn and just thought he did the right thing. He couldn't have fought off Euron.
Mm-hmm.
He did do the right thing. He jumped. And it just sucked that, like, bravery in Westeros means sacrificing yourself.
Yeah. Very true. And I think that if you drank every time that I said I think Theon is starting his redemptive arc, we'd be in trouble. But I think Theon is starting his redemptive arc.
It sucks because I think that Theon starting his redemptive arc means that Alfie Allen is just going to be
Run through.
I mean, I think he might make it through this season, but I'm also... I know how much redemption hurts Theon. And he tries so hard, and yet it seems like this world will not really allow him to become any part of the man that he used to be. And so this episode and last episode were just episodes where I was like, you have to run one last 100 yards, and then that's it. And it sucks because he kind of didn't have a chance. He's kind of the Lindsay Lohan of Westeros at this point. It was like, your parents blew and you didn't have a shot, and we're now putting these standards upon you that you had no chance of meeting.
Uh-huh.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Eloria was painful. I didn't think she'd scream as much.
Yeah. I didn't expect
that was kind of
like that.
It was kind of genius on Cersei's part. That wait, how do you mean you liked it? What do you mean you liked it?
As in be engaged by. Because I've spent the past 2 seasons, I guess they've really only been around since season 5. Well, she's been around since season 4.
Yeah.
Being checking out during the Sand Snakes.
Okay.
And so this was like the first time that the Sand Snake stakes were high, I suppose.
Yeah, which surprised me because last week they killed the girl from Whale Rider.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I mean, I didn't pay attention that much because they annoyed me, but I thought she was Illyria's daughter. And she wasn't, and they had the weaker actress be her daughter. And
but it's fine because they muzzled them.
Exactly. But also, it was just kind of... I feel like the Illyria we saw scream for Oberyn and the Illyria we saw kill Myrcella was not the Illyria we saw today.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I was like, she's screaming and she's upset. Maybe she hasn't had enough sleep, but she killed someone else's daughter. And I really think she would not be so open in front of Cersei in fear and in sadness. Like, I feel like she would just have stood her ground, and so would her daughter. And then when they left, I feel like it would have been way more effective if she had just stared at Cersei, and then when they left, her and her
That's
daughter
where the wailing happened.
Well, that's when them straining towards each other. But what this also means is that Eloria is still alive, and Eloria looks at the mountain, and I'm doubling down on my Eloria kills the mountain, not the Hound bet.
I can see the pieces moving in that direction.
That is the only reason Eloria should still be alive from a narrative perspective, because she can't command any troops.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really annoying and weird if Cersei kills her at a later date, because it's going to be like, here's my monkey, I'm going to kill her. You know, it doesn't, yeah. But, how did you like the Olenna Jaime scene?
I love the Olenna Jaime scene. I want to talk about the Citadel scene first, though, if we can.
Oh, yeah.
Just because because I think we've got a lot to say about Olenna. But I really liked the moment with Sam and Jorah and Maester not quite Marwyn.
Yeah. Maester Broadbent.
Yeah, Maester Broadbent, and the house moment of everyone lies. As we had the Samwise House MD moment.
That is, oh yeah, you're right, yeah.
But, and obviously J-Bear is gonna head right back, gonna head over to Dragonstone.
Well, I thought about that, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with this, because if he doesn't get there next episode, then...
She'll be gone.
Well, he's not gonna get there. Like... He could get there next episode. They would just, be like, oh, he got lucky. He rode a horse. Arya couldn't make it through in 2 goddamn years, but Jorah totally did it. And if he doesn't do it in that episode, then I feel like it's going to be about his journey across war-torn country, which I hope it's not. I kind of just hope he figures it out. Because at this point, we don't have time to waste. Because
the last thing we need is another 4 episodes about Jorah Mormont traveling somewhere.
Yeah. Kind of where I'm at with that. So I feel like he's going to see her again. I also feel like him and Davos Seaworth are basically the same person.
Oh man, he's going to be so upset if Davos and Dany end up, with a relationship, and all of a sudden Dany has another
like bearded Englishman,
father figure.
Working
as an advisor.
Speaking of Olenna, I know I wasn't there last week, but last week my favorite scene was Olenna telling Dany, like, hey, doesn't matter if the people love you.
Right.
Dany having a mother figure. Because that was a scene I always wanted for Cersei and Olenna, because I think what Cersei was really missing was a female ally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Olenna, had Cersei been Olenna's daughter or granddaughter, Olenna would have been really proud of her. But because of the conditions under which they lived, they hated each other. And it kind of broke my heart. And then to see Olenna and Dany have this scene, and then to see Olenna fucking just nail her last words.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really, really didn't want to lose Olenna. But...
yeah. But we did.
We don't know it yet.
We know it. You don't have that moment. And then just have her show up.
I think it's really sad
after the credits
that Jaime is really back in baby's arms, as we could say.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
It's. Is this going to be what? And again, we're having the. Is this the moment that redeems Jaime?
Every episode with him and Cersei is a chance for him to redeem himself, and he's not doing it. And it's like, oh, buddy.
But he truly believed it was Tyrion who killed Joffrey.
Yeah, but Jaime isn't so stupid to ignore the fact that what Olenna said, he was a cunt, and she was glad he did it. Like, Jaime's not that stupid. Jaime saw what was happening. I think Jaime should be more mad at Myrcella and more mad at Cersei for dominant Myrcella than he should be at Olenna for Joffrey or Tyrion for Joffrey, given how blatantly irresponsible and murderous and psychopathic Joffrey was. That's kind of where I lose. I love Jaime, but that's where I lose sympathy for him.
I mean, I think that he did recognize that, which is why he freed Tyrion.
Well, but when Tyrion killed his dad, and Jaime was like, "Oh, I'll kill him if I see him again." How could Jaime see what Joffrey was and not see what his father was, or not see why Tyrion would have done that?
Because his father wasn't Joffrey. His father was only Joffrey to Tyrion.
No, but Jaime loved Tyrion, so it's like, well, why would you... Yeah. How could Jaime love Tyrion and not see how irrational and how shitty his father was? And not see why, at least... I mean, I could see Jaime being very upset. Hey, you killed my dad. That sucked, even though my dad treated me like shit. I cannot see Jaime sitting there and being like, I have no idea why you did that. You're a psycho. Fuck you. Like, of course Jaime understands why Tyrion did that. I've always thought that was kind of a... I think Jaime felt bad because he thought by freeing Tyrion, his father died, so he was also culpable. I don't think Jaime has a problem with Tyrion killing Tywin. I think Jaime has a problem with Jaime freeing Tyrion and then Tyrion killing Tywin.
Yes, I agree with that.
And it just makes... See, this is why I want the Lannister fucking family reunion. Just 3 of them in a room working it out. I really hope there's a device where Dany's like, all 3 of you fucking assholes in a cell, don't come out.
They've got the cell set up for it.
Yeah,
and just put them in the in the Ilaria cells.
Yep, that's what I hope Dany's first move is when she takes over King's Landing. And I don't know that's gonna happen, but I just hope it does. She takes it over, and then all of a sudden Tyrion's like, "Great," and she's like, "Yeah, no, report to this cell. Cersei, Jaime, report to that cell. You guys work this. You work it out." On the other hand,
we will see.
I'm very glad that Grey Worm is still alive. I'm very sad that Tyrion's knowledge of the sewer systems in Casterly Rock were used to no avail. Even though that was a dope battle with a cool voiceover.
It was a dope battle. It was 2 dope battles. And I don't think we've ever seen something of that nature before.
No. Though the minute they started the voiceover, I was like, oh, this is going to be short. This isn't...
Yeah, well, I mean, the Scooby-Doo ending... Or, Clue ending of here's what could have happened, but here's what really happened.
Again, I like that because I want Cersei to have some wins because I want to hate her and I want to
And I think you talked about this on your Twitter. Euron Greyjoy still has done nothing wrong.
That's the thing. I mean, I've been waiting to ask you this for the past 2 weeks because the past 2 weeks is when we've seen the most of Euron Greyjoy. And we've said before that there's no way to adapt the character of Euron Greyjoy from the books to the show in 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want them to do it, and I was worried about it. And then seeing this character, they've so zigzagged from the books. But it works. It really works. Like, for the show narrative, this works. And he's ridiculous, and I fucking love him. I love him. He's a great villain. Like, I don't want to be disturbed by more villains on the show because at the end of the day, frankly, the show itself, all the action that's been set in motion is going to be disturbing. We're going to lose people we love. I don't need another Ramsay.
Yeah, he is a scenery chewing villain, and that's just fine.
It really is. Peter Osbeck is doing so well.
Like the only there's not a moment where I consider, oh, he's living up to being Ramsay, but a moment where Ramsay was similar to Ronnie is the eating of the sausages after Theon's castration.
Yeah,
that would be a Ronnie Greyjoy moment.
Absolutely. And we kind of saw that you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in what he's done. But we don't need the kind of we don't need the manifested psychosis of Ronnie Greyjoy. And because we don't have that to look at, we have this kind of weirdo rock star that's almost a little bit of levity. Like,
yeah,
I don't really care what happens to him, and because I don't really care what happens to Cersei. And I'm kind of happy to see this beautiful mess just unfold before our eyes. Like, I'm kind of down for it. I think
they were saying in interviews that he's going to be the Ramsay Bolton of season 7, but he's not. He's the Cersei Lannister of season 7.
If she were like the lead singer of Aerosmith.
Yeah,
or Creed. I think Creed's better.
Creed. Nickelback.
I don't know that he's that dorky, but I like that sort of connotation.
Yeah, you're right. He's not emo. Velvet Revolver.
All right. Yep. I can do that. It's so interesting to me too. Sorry, I was just thinking about like Sam and Jorah, how by that handshake they were both legitimized. Like, because Jorah's not a bastard, but he might as well be. And Sam is not a bastard, but he might as well be. And them shaking each other's hands, it was so simple. It was really good.
It tossed them back, or it tossed them together as equals. And as much as the ending of that scene with Maester, not Marwyn, saying, "You think you were going to be rewarded," and giving him the punishment of copying the books, I don't see that as a punishment at all.
No, it was so obvious.
Specifically because of what he said. You know, I read it in a book and I remembered it. I'm going to guess that some of those books that he's copying are additional texts from the Forbidden Vaults.
Yeah, Sam has a lot more to learn at the Citadel.
Although he already changed the course of everything with the Mountain of Dragonglass.
True. Speaking of the mountain, I think if Ellaria is still alive, which she will be because Cersei did not kill her, she killed her daughter. I am doubling down on the fact that Ellaria is going to kill the mountain.
Yep, you mentioned that.
Oh, I did already. Sorry. I've had some beer.
All right, so
I think does that cover everything?
I think that covers everything. We can dive a little deeper later this week.
Yeah, I think so, folks. You can expect to hear another Take 2 on Thursday morning, and yeah, if there's another segment of this that you would like us to talk more on, please feel free to reach out to us at GoThronesPcast on Twitter, GoThrones.com, or GoThronespodcast on Gmail. That's our email address. Yep. Or GoThrones.com or
GoThrones on Facebook.
GoThrones on Facebook, yeah. Cool. So happy GoThrones Day, folks. See you on Thursday morning.
Thursday. Yep.
Thursday. Bye.
Bye-bye.